But with the adrenaline rushes, I found that it didn't just affect my physical symptoms, my physical body, but it also affected my mind. How's it going, guys? Miguel here from CFS Recovery. In this video, I'm going to be talking about adrenaline rushes and how to deal with them. Now, adrenaline rushes are a very normal part of recovery. Not normal for the average person, but when you are going through something like CFS or you have a hypersensitive nervous system, you might feel that you're wired 24/7. You might feel like there's always adrenaline, always some kind of buzzing happening in your body, and just know right off the bat, that is very common for somebody who has CFS or any kind of hypersensitive nervous system. Now, for me, when I was going through this illness, not a lot of times where I didn't have this feeling, especially when I got to that point where I was mainly bedridden or mainly couchbound or even house ridden, I would feel like there was this constant tension inside, and not even just physically, but with my own thoughts. There would be a lot of times where I would do these things or expand activity and my mind would just be running 1,000 miles an hour. And it's almost like this excited, borderline manic feeling. Like you can't even slow down your thoughts and you just feel super, super excited. Like you just want to go, go, go. And looking back now, a lot of that was just adrenaline being constantly dumped into my bloodstream. So I had to get to a point where I was unfazed by that, especially when I was at first very afraid of that sensation of the trembling, the buzzing, and I actually created a video right up here where you can watch that, where I talk about the vibrations and internal tremors. But with the adrenaline rushes, I found that it didn't just affect my physical symptoms, my physical body, but it also affected my mind. I didn't know how to slow down my thoughts, and there were times when I legitimately thought that I was going crazy, especially as I was starting to get better, as I was starting to learn these concepts, and I knew not to panic when my symptoms came. I knew to keep my composure as much as I could, but I found that when I would increase activity, I would have these buzzing sensations in my body, but also I would get really, really, really excited. Like I'd have this burst of creativity or this burst of thoughts, like I didn't know how to stop it. So I had to learn to separate myself from those things, because as time went on, I would have less of these crazy surges in physical and mental energy. A lot of times it wasn't even just physical energy, it was mental. I may have had a lot of fatigue at the time, but my mind was racing and racing, and the thoughts just could not stop. No matter what I did, I couldn't control them. So there were many times where I had to learn to separate myself from my thoughts and as well as my symptoms. So let's touch on the physical aspect first, and then we'll touch on the mental aspect. So the physical aspect is the adrenaline in the body. I found that these adrenaline surges were literally just adjustment period symptoms. That's all they were. Because there are certain phases during an adjustment period where you'll feel more wired. You'll maybe feel more pain. If you don't feel pain, then you'll feel other things. But it typically follows these steps. Like your symptoms flare up, then you feel really wired and anxious, and then you feel really tired and fatigued. And then your body restabilizes. And we've found that pattern. Looking at the people in our Recovery Jumpstart program, we have seen this over and over and over again, and it happens to a T for the most part. There's some cases where it doesn't really follow that trajectory, but that's typically what happens. You increase activity, you have a symptom flare up, then you feel super wired, then your body dips down to this opposite direction where it's like really fatigued and you feel really lethargic, and then your body comes out of it. So just know that's pretty normal. I had to become really good at separating my mental state, my thoughts, like who I was, the thoughts I was in control of. I had to learn to separate those from my physical symptoms in my body. So a lot of times it felt like a bomb went off in my body and I was just shaking and trembling, and my heart rate was very, very high and it was just pounding in my chest. I had to separate from those physical symptoms. So physically, it was just chaos in my body, but mentally I was completely calm. So you imagine those beautiful, peaceful lakes, in like the Disney intros. My mind was like a calm lake. It was like a reflection glass on the surface of that lake, where if you throw a pebble, you could see ripples throughout the entire lake because that's how calm it was. So below the surface, physically, my body was freaking out. Mentally, I was like, yeah, whatever. It is what it is. It's just symptoms. There was very little fear and anxiety, but it wasn't completely gone. It was there, but I knew that this would happen. And I knew that nothing bad would come of it because I knew that was just the trajectory that happened every single time that I tried to do activity, things would flare up. So I became really good at predicting my symptoms, but I would never predict them. When they did show up, it was not a curveball. It was not a mystery or a surprise anymore. I knew exactly what I needed to do. And so when the symptoms came up, there was no emotional attachment to that. And if there was, it was very, very minuscule, very tiny. For the most part, completely indifferent mentally. So there's two things that are happening here. Physically, your body can be freaking out, but mentally, you're just like, it is what it is. It's gonna be there, whatever I do. There's not a whole lot that I could do to make it better in this specific moment, but there is a lot that I can do to make it worse. If I start panicking and freaking out, these symptoms, this adrenaline rush will get worse and worse, and it could turn into a panic attack. And even if it does turn into a panic attack, you need to be okay and accept that it's literally just a glitch in the body. So once you become okay with that, there's the second part that we have to look at, and it's your thoughts, because they can run wild, especially when you're in that wired phase. Your mind will be jumping all over the place. I find that that's a little more difficult to deal with than the physical symptoms because, it's in your own head, right? You can feel like you're going crazy sometimes. But even just knowing that's normal and that actually happens, it puts you at ease because you don't feel like you're going crazy. When you're having all these intrusive thoughts and your mind is just in go, go, go mode, you're able to kind of take a step back and look at your surface level thoughts, but deep inside, you're observing it, right? You're looking at your thoughts like, wow, there's a lot going on, cool, very interesting. But you're aware of what's happening. When you're not aware and you can't separate, all these intrusive thoughts from your own personal thoughts, that's when it gets tricky. But once you become better at being aware of these things popping in and out, that's when you can make a lot of progress because no matter how intense the adrenaline surges, you can always bring it back to a Zen state where at the very core, you fully understand that, okay, I'm gonna be okay, I'm safe. My body's just having this glitch and this is something that happens, right? No need to put a label on this. It's not bad. It's not that I'm getting worse. I didn't go backwards. It's not a setback. It just is. This is science. My body is just having an adrenaline dump. So once you get to that level of confidence, you become okay with these symptoms, not just the physical symptoms, but the mental symptoms. And you know that this is like a storm that is passing. This is like a storm that is temporary. You know that 2, 3, 4 days down the road, maybe a week down the road, you're gonna come out of this. Those week-long ones are pretty intense, but if you're wired for a few days at a time, that's completely normal. So just know that this is a glitch in your body. This is a glitch in your nervous system. This is not you going crazy. Like this is actually very common for people with CFS. So once you understand that, it really takes the teeth out of the monster. But that's how I dealt with adrenaline surges and the feeling like I was going crazy. It really, really helped. So once you become okay with that and you almost get comfortable, and once you become completely indifferent to any of the symptoms, and even if your body is throwing you curveball symptoms and random things are popping up here and there, you're gonna be okay. And you're always gonna progress to a better level. That's how I did it. That's how I went from being completely bedridden in a hospital, literally had to drink my food sometimes, to walking up a mountain in Hawaii, and that was in 11 months. So to have that transformation, you do have to be very confident in the information, right? Think of this information as your safety net. You know that you can't go back to square one. And I had that feeling as well, when my symptoms were flaring up really bad. In the past, I would think, oh man, I overdid it. I shouldn't have done that. Like now I just set myself back 2 weeks, 2 months. Now I'm gonna be sick even longer. Oh man, am I ever actually gonna recover? So you start to snowball. But after I learned all of this stuff and I was putting it into practice, my symptoms would be flaring up and I'd look at it and be like, okay, it is what it is. It's gonna be gone in a few days or next week or whatever. That's the level that you wanna get through. And I did have a panic attack about a year ago. I don't know why it happened. I think I was just working a ton. And I remember it was like 1 a.m. in the morning and I was hungry. So I went to go get this really unhealthy food. I went to this place called Denny's. It's in North America. But I think I had like fried chicken, fries, and then all this sauce, and it was just not good. So I woke up at like 3 a.m. and I felt like my heart was just on fire. It was burning. I was having heartburn. And so at the time, like in my mind, I was having thoughts of, oh, all this acid reflux, it's melted through my esophagus and it's seeping into my heart and I'm gonna have a heart attack. And then I woke up at 3 a.m. and my heart was just pounding, like pounding. And I did have a panic attack. I had adrenaline surges and it was really uncomfortable for about 5 to 10 minutes, right? Because after you have a panic attack, if you know what it's like, if you've been through this before, you know that there's the panic attack and then there's the aftermath where you're like scared to move and you're like, shoot, I hope it doesn't happen again. So I was pretty frozen for about 5 to 10 minutes. And then after that, I was like, whoa, that was pretty cool. That was like a roller coaster ride. That was intense. But because I knew I wasn't gonna die and I knew these thoughts were being planted in my head because it was my nervous system trying to protect me and trying to go into complete survival mode, I wasn't buying into them because I knew that was happening. I knew what it was trying to do. So I didn't freak out. So yes, it was scary at the time. I felt a lot of fear, but you're able to move past it a lot faster. So 10 minutes after that episode, I was like, whoa, that was interesting. And I couldn't care less if it came again because I knew it was just a mechanism of the nervous system. So like I said, it takes the teeth out of the monster quite a bit. And just knowing this knowledge allows you to keep your sanity when you feel like you're losing your sanity. So if you got some value out of this video, make sure to leave a comment down below. How often do you feel these adrenaline surges? And do you feel them 24/7? If so, how do you deal with them? And what do you find that's working? Comment down below because I'm gonna pick one of these comments to highlight in a future video. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to hit that like button, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of the videos we post on this channel. If you did want some help on your recovery journey, because we offer a lot of help to people who are stuck. And if you are having a lot of adrenaline surges and you've been stuck like that for months, if not years at a time, it might be worth getting some extra help. Even just hearing it from somebody who's been in your shoes before, who understands what you're going through, even just hearing from somebody, hey, you know what? It's gonna be okay. Like you just did this and this, that's why it's led to this. You're gonna be fine in 2 to 3 days. Don't worry about it. Even just hearing that from somebody that you trust, it makes a huge difference. So there's a lot of people in the Recovery Jumpstart program, which is an amazing program I've created, which walks people through the steps of recovery. And we build a customized plan for you. You get group coaching calls. There are some people in there who they understand what's going on, but sometimes you need that little bit of extra support and that little safety net, knowing that you have this support, you have this community to lean on. So if you wanted to join a program like that, then you can apply down below. Just click the link. You're gonna have to go through a questionnaire, and then if you are a good fit for the program, we'll hop on a quick call and we would love to help you on your recovery journey. So always remember that you are a thriver and you are just one mind shift away from living a life with thriving health. I'll see you in the next video.